Hello. It's hard to believe that I'm already setting up my journal for February. I feel like the year just started, but it's flying by quickly. In many Asian cultures, we celebrate Lunar New Year, which this year falls on February 12th. This year is kind of special to me though because it's the year of the ox, which is my year as I was born in 1997. If you want to hear me talk a little bit more about Lunar New Year, or if you just want to chill and watch me set up my journal, then keep watching. In celebration of Lunar New Year, I wanted to incorporate a cute little cow doodle for the Year of the Ox and then some lanterns that you see at a lot of festival celebrations. The lanterns themselves were largely inspired by Amanda Rach Lee and the lantern theme that she did in January 2019. If any of you don't know, I'm Chinese American and I was really lucky that my parents and grandparents celebrated Lunar New Year. Especially while growing up, it made me appreciate my cultural heritage a lot more. My grandma would always come over and make the best food for us all to eat a family dinner. I don't know what it is, but grandmas always make such delicious food. Anyway, to start this cover, I wrote out February 2021 using this font that I found online where you basically bring the lines out a little past where they intersect. I started out drawing the outlines for a variety of lanterns all over the cover. Drawing lanterns is really easy because you can draw any shape and then add some horizontal and vertical lines in between to make it look like it was folded and then popped up. I added a small rectangle at the top and bottom for the edges of the lantern. You could definitely also make some asymmetrical shapes for the lanterns, but I kept all of mine relatively symmetrical. My favorite ones to draw were probably the one in the top right or the bottom left. I definitely liked the ones that were made up of straight lines and that I could use my ruler on. Some people don't like using a ruler because they want the more hand-drawn look, but I think it's super relaxing to use a ruler. I also added in ribbons and extra hanging decorations like the flowers and diamonds. As this is the Year of the Ox, I decided to draw this little doodle of a cow, and I wanted to draw it wearing traditional Chinese clothing to go along with the theme. The base of this cow comes from an iMessage sticker pack of animals. I use this sticker pack all the time when I text because all of the animals are so cute. After finishing the outlines, I went back in to fill in the top and bottom of each of the lanterns with the black fine liner and then connected all of the lanterns with a line to make them hang from the string. I also left some space in between some of the lines so that I could decorate them with different colored dots, and with that, the outlining is done. I took a break from filming here to erase the pencil sketch from the page. Then I just slowly started adding in red and yellow to the lanterns. Red is a lucky color in Chinese culture because red signifies good fortune and happiness, which is why you'll find a lot of red, especially around Lunar New Year. When coloring, I sometimes found it best to use the fine tip end of the marker to draw the outline of the section I was coloring before using the brush side to color in the space. For the cow, I made the outfit red, the hooves black, the spots on the cow gray, and the muzzle a light brown. The last thing that I did for this page was to go in with a gold and white pen to add details. I usually use a Sakura jelly roll for detailing, but this time I actually tried out a Uniball Signo for the gold and white. I was really impressed with how pigmented the color was. The only thing I decided after using the pen was that I wanted to get the pen in a finer tip so that I could bring out some of the more fine details in the future. Like for the outfit, I was going to have little loops down the center of the outfit, but they ended up looking just like lines. I also waited a couple of minutes for the ink to dry before moving on so that the details wouldn't be smudged. I later went over with a black fine liner to bring some of those lines back out that the gold pen had covered. Overall, the cover alone took me over 2 hours of filming, but around 4 hours total because it took me a while to decide what colors I wanted to choose and which colors to use for which lanterns and decorations. I'm really happy with how it turned out though. For the quote page, I wanted something that related to Lunar New Year, so I chose this Chinese proverb that I'm sure you've heard. It says, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Even though we're about a month into 2021, I still think that it's never too late to decide to start on a new journey in your life, whether it's a new hobby or a new career path. In the lettering, I just emphasized some of the words with the font that I used on the cover page and then used a basic uppercase font for the other words. Then I started to draw the lines using a ruler. I wasn't paying attention when drawing the red line and went further than I intended, so I decided to go in with whiteout to cover the spot. I didn't have any other problem finishing the rest of the border. I'm a fan of how minimalistic this side is in comparison to the cover page. I did end up adding some gold details around the proverb, which I think helped to blend the theme together. Also, I just want to throw it out there that I tried out a different lens when filming this day, so if you find any of the clips are a little out of focus, then that is definitely the reason. And with that, let's move on to the monthly layout. I started out with a basic calendar by outlining all of the boxes, placing the month and days of the week at the top, and sectioning where I'm going to highlight the day it is. Then I added some lantern decorations around the top left of the spread and some extra decorations around February. I also drew 3 lanterns in the bottom right where I will be writing out 3 goals that I have for the month of February. For this cow doodle, I decided to make it have the traditional clothing for a female and have it holding a hongbao, which is a red envelope containing a monetary gift typically given on holidays or special occasions. I got a little extra with the coloring for the calendar and decided to washi tape all of the lines so I didn't have to be careful when highlighting. I honestly think it might have taken me more time to just tape the calendar than it would have been to just color inside the lines. It was pretty late at night though, so using the washi tape let me color without worrying because I didn't have to think about staying inside the line. Afterwards, I added some gold and white detail to some of the lanterns and then filled in the days of the week. The next spread is actually going to be a combination of my habit tracker, my mood tracker, and also a gratitude log. So let's first start on the habit tracker. I decided that I was going to keep tracking the same habits that I did last month, so I only have 6 that I'll be tracking. I wanted each habit to be tracked in one of the hanging lanterns. It worked out really well because February has 28 days, so I'll probably just go across the box and check off the day that I did the habit. If you've been watching my habit tracking over the last year, you'll know that I've been trying to learn Chinese as a way to get back in touch with my culture. Let me just say, it's going. I've definitely found it kind of challenging to practice as currently I've been only focused on memorizing characters and radicals. If you have any tips for learning Chinese, I'd definitely appreciate them. Other than that, tracking my habits has really paid off in showing how I'm moving towards my goals and serves as a reminder for myself. I've been a lot more conscious of taking care of my skin, and I've actually been quite pleased that a lot of my eczema has cleared up, so I hope that I'll continue to move in that direction. Moving on to the mood tracker, I was really inspired by this lantern and mood tracker by study.susan on Instagram, so I used that as a base for my mood tracker. Initially I wanted the cow to be hanging the lanterns up, but the arms were too stubby, so I ended up connecting the lanterns to a stick that the cow could hold. It's been really fun making the cows each a little different because it makes each of them have their own little personality. I made the key underneath where I'll be choosing a different shade of red based on my mood for the day. I initially only meant to color 1 square per color, but I miscounted, so I ended up just evening out the key by coloring an additional box. After that, I just wrote out the days in the different empty sections of the lanterns, with each lantern having 4 sections. Last month, it was really interesting to see how my mood was largely based on how tired I was, and my day job definitely impacted my mood a lot. Hopefully February will be less stressful and busy for me. To finish the mood tracker and habit tracker off, I added some gold detail to the outfits and the lanterns. In January, I had a little section as part of my mood tracker to explain how I was feeling for the day, and I like just having a section to write something down for each day. For February, I want to focus on what I'm thankful for, so I just made a simple log by highlighting every other line with the yellow tombow. I'm excited to have this space to look back on. And with that, these 3 spreads are done. I felt like I used the space on the pages pretty well, and it still doesn't look too busy, which I'm happy about. Like last month, I decided to only show one of the weekly spreads in this video, but the rest of my February weekly spreads will be released in an upcoming video. As always, if you're interested, then I'll see you in the next video, but to start this one off, I began by making a simple border along the top and bottom. The design definitely reminds me of something that you'd see in a lot of Asian artwork and decorations. The next thing that I did was divide the page into sections for the days and drew one lantern per day. I'm going to write the date in the center of the lantern, but I wrote the day of the week underneath it. Then I just colored in each of the lanterns. It was really fun to play around with the different designs for each of the lanterns. In the last area to the bottom right, I decided to make a note section. I drew the cow wearing traditional clothing and then a banner going across the top that will say notes. I added in some gold details with the pen, and I really like how it stood out against the red. Even with the doodles, I still feel like there is plenty of space to plan out my week, and I can't wait to use this spread. I really enjoyed all of the doodling of lanterns and cows involved this month for my February theme. Even though it took so much time, it was a lot of fun, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. If you celebrated, then have a wonderful Lunar New Year with your family and friends. Let me know in the comments which spread was your favorite or what theme you have planned for February. I hope you had fun watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!